So my presentation will be about the human-crocodile conflict in Sri Lanka, and I hope to cover the background of the conflict and the current situation of the conflict in Sri Lanka. I will also touch upon the crocodiles in general uh, throughout my presentation. Before I begin my presentation, I'd like to dedicate this to two important people in crocodilian research, to pioneers in Sri Lankan conservation research, Dr. P.E.P. Darinigala and Dr. Anselm de Silva. Both of them have contributed immensely towards the conservation of crocodiles. They worked on various aspects of crocodilian biology, ecology, population, and also the human crocodile conflict. Dr. Anselm de Silva sadly he was not able to make it today. He's 76 years old and still up and running. He still goes on field visits with his students. An amazing man. On that note, let me begin my presentation on the human crocodile conflict. There are several ancient old reports that have mentioned the conflict over several centuries old. For example, uh, the Mahavamsa itself has mentioned some instances where humans and crocodiles have interacted. And one famous example is when King Parakram Bahu uh, attempted to cross this river infested with man-eaters with his army, but he could not make it, and he turned back and went. And yeah, so from that point onwards, there were several ancient folklore that also described conflict issues. Dharanigala was able to describe instances that happened during the Portuguese era, and then also during his time in 1930 and 1939, where key publications were published on crocodiles, the ecology, and human-crocodile conflict. Subsequent authors like Rom Whittaker and also Anselm de Silva published accounts on human-crocodile conflict and also population of crocodiles and their statuses. The conflict in Sri Lanka is regarded as one of the major conflicts, human-animal conflicts in the island, second only to the human-elephant conflict. This was identified in the Harita Lanka program, which was a national action plan that was developed to protect the environment. And the Department of Wildlife and the Ministry of Disaster Management were identified as responsible agencies to counter the conflict. However, currently there is no management plan put out to conserve crocodiles or even mitigate the conflict between humans and crocodiles. So what is a conflict? How can we call in human animal interaction, how does it turn into a conflict? Well, for this I think there should be 5 conditions that needs to be satisfied. Deaths and injuries to people is number 1, then deaths and injuries to animals, and livestock depredation, socio-economic problems, and habitat destruction. So these things are happening with elephants, with crocodiles, and now leopards, and some parts in the country with bears. So let me start from deaths and injuries that were recorded during the past 10 years. So we collected data from 2005 to date, and I managed to find 88 records, and majority of them turned out to be non-fatal incidents. But from 2015 to present, 27 individual records were recorded, and of them 55% turned out to be fatal. So this is spread throughout Sri Lanka in different degrees. And most of the time these attacks happen, and most of the areas these happen is in unprotected bathing areas, unprotected areas of water where people would get in bathe and use for other reasons. And the times, majority of the time, it's during the extreme parts of the day, like early mornings and late evenings. So these are some examples of human deaths that happened during the past 10 years. The first two pictures right on top of a victim from the famous Ragama crocodile that was killed by the people after the incident. And his remains were found inside the animal's stomach. And this was a pure revenge attack on the crocodile later on. And the bottom two pictures show two young people that were attacked in Ilvala River. And the girl, at the time of the attack, she was 16 years old. And she was getting ready to go to school, and she was washing her face. And she was dragged into the river by the crocodile right in front of her mother. It was quite a sad story. The father is still suffering from a small mental disorder because after his loss. Injuries, there are so many injuries that are around that hardly gets reported in media. One instance is this, where a woman in Nilvala River used a bucket to fetch water from the river for her uses, and the crocodile caught a piece of her hand, and luckily she was able to survive the attack with a few minor injuries. And this is quite an interesting location. I visited this place last year in July. This is in Valave. A canal called Sitavode, and there's a temple just next to the canal, and the chief monk is this young priest in the picture. Within a time span of just 6 months, 4 non-fatal attacks happen in this exact area. This is the location. From this area, this is the main access point to go to the beach from the temple, and for that whole area. So people from all around the area, even from Sri Lanka, from around the country, would come here to visit the temple, and also will have to cross this bit to go to the beach. So on February last year, a group from Ratnapura visited, and they went to the beach in the evening, and while they were coming back, around 7:30 in the evening, one of the boys that was in that group was attacked by a crocodile in here. And luckily none of the attacks here were fatal, just some minor injuries. And in April, on the 4th of April, this monk tried to cross the water to go go to the beach, and he was attacked. When I met him in July, he was still suffering from his wounds, and he couldn't even walk properly because of his wounds. And but just a couple of months later, on the 29th of May, one of his friends and colleagues, another priest from Ambalangoda, visited him. And even though he was injured, and also attacks have happened before, he took this monk and tried to cross the canal again, and the monk from Ambalangoda got attacked. So, yeah, and luckily nothing happened to him as well, nothing much, just a small damage. And then just before my visit, just a couple of days before my visit, this young boy and his brother was attacked in the same location, going for the same purpose. He's a resident from the area close by, and he went with his extended family and relatives in the evening to the beach, and he and his brother both got attacked at once by the crocodile, because the brother's leg was on the beginning of the sandbank you see there, and the boy who held on to the brother's limb just to get a grip to climb out, and the crocodile snatched right at the connection, the joint where his arm was attached to his brother's thigh, and so both got wounded really badly. And so I spoke to the monk and tried to come up with some solutions for this, and he was not interested at all. Sadly, he just wanted the animal to be released, taken out, and translocated somewhere else. This is another incident that happened again close to Valaveri, close to Ambalantota. It's called Weber called Malpetta Weber. He was washing his tractor at 10 o'clock in the night, and he got attacked by a mugger crocodile, and he was bedridden for about a good 6 to 8 months. And he has not been going to any, he's not been using any natural water sources after that. And the other point that I was talking is livestock depredation. This is a big problem, and there is no solution right now for it. There are people from South Africa and Romulus Whittaker have been discussing about some interesting methods to mitigate this, but still it's very hard to implement such solutions. So a farmer would lose about 60 to 50,000 every time he loses one of his cattle, and it's something we need to look out for. Deaths of crocodiles happen quite often in Sri Lanka. Most of them are retaliatory. Most of them are young animals getting caught to fishing nets. And there are also instances where retaliatory attacks and prevention attacks happen on crocodiles. So this is the Ragama crocodile that was that was caught, that was found, that was killed by the people after it attacked a person trying to cut grass. And this was also another retaliatory attack that happened in Kirinda after a woman was killed by a crocodile a couple of days before this incident. The people got together and killed a few crocodiles, and this is one of them. They used poison to kill this animal. So roughly about 100 crocodiles die every year because of the reasons I just mentioned, and it's something we need to look at. This is an annual number. Habitat destruction is another problem dealing with any animal we have currently, especially large carnivores. So this is a location in Nilvara River, a small canal. People in that area complain that there are crocodiles in this because the habitat is rich. So the municipal council decided to clear this area. Well, the crocodiles didn't move, but some really important habitat was lost, and they lost some of the birds that come here as well. And this family lost their mother, and the father was the only source of income for this family, and he's a day laborer. And since they don't have any other relatives, his only option was to send the kids to the temple after his wife's death. So if you look at the reasons why these things happen, it's a lot of reasons. It's mainly location specific. So from location to location, the conflict varies in its degree. So species type matters, its distribution, socio-economic background of that area, all matters when it comes to the conflict and attacks on animals and humans. And one of the main reasons identified is negligence and ignorance. And this also could be because of lack of awareness among people about the knowledge on crocodiles. And so yeah, people anyway that live near natural water sources that has crocodiles know that there are crocodiles, but still would go and use these water sources regardless of the presence of crocodiles. And So to support that and to console people for doing that is poverty. There are so many people around these areas that still depend on natural water sources. So they don't have government supplied water, they don't have money to build a well for themselves, and they can't pump water to their houses, issues like that. So this whole conflict, just like the human-elephant conflict, is a poverty-driven issue. And you can see some pictures here where people use natural water sources for different reasons. There's a group of ladies using it for washing clothes, kitchen utensils, and bathing. This man's washing his dog. This lady operates a ferry, helping people cross the river in Nilvala, and there are laundry people still in these areas that use natural water sources. And remind you, this is a picture from Nilvala River that a group of laundrymen that washes clothes of a hospital, and I don't know how hygienic those sheets are. Anyway, and then fishermen also are a threat because they use open canoes and rafts when they go on fishing in these areas. And this picture right here is from Potuvil. Potuvil Lagoon, right under the bridge, right connects to the sea. This man is casting a net in a crocodile-infested lagoon where there's big salties that hang around this area. And it's quite a brave man, or is it brave? I don't know if he's brave or just stupid to be in an area like this. I spoke to him, and he was like, because the rate of things happening is less, and he thinks that he can manage, and the other thing is that it's a main way of income, main source of income for him. So he has to come up with some excuse for this. And then people use the river to send their cattle for bathing, and people engaged in the brig industry, clay mine along the banks, and people go out cutting grass and also collect greens for consumption. You can see this person is in an open canoe in Nilvala River, another place where there's a lot of crocodiles. And something new that's happening right throughout Sri Lanka, especially Diyavanna, which has a lot of crocodiles, Bolgoda Lake, Bentota, and some parts in the eastern province. Kayaking and canoeing has become quite popular, and this is an accident waiting to happen anytime. You have to look out for that. To come up with, be aware of it soon. So let me give an introduction about the two species of crocodiles in Sri Lanka. So we have two, the mugger crocodile and the saltwater crocodile. The mugger is called the halakimbula or mudulai in Tamil, and then the saltwater crocodile is called gatakimbula or semmukku mudulai in Tamil. So distribution is very different within these two species, and their temperament and behavior is also very different. The saltwater crocodile is mainly distributed along the coastal area where there are many tidal rivers and lagoons, and mainly concentrated along the dry zone of in the eastern province and some parts in Bondala, Valave River, and occasionally in Yala. And then you find really good healthy populations in the southern province, like Mathura district and some parts in Gaul. Bentota, Bolgoda, Kalutara, Maduganga, and Diyavanna, Vellavatta, Lunava, Kalani River. Those are some areas where you find crocodiles. So some of the conflict hotspots I've highlighted here are East Coast, Valave, Nilvala, Bolgoda, and Kalania. This is based on attacks and also human-crocodile interactions. There's high interaction and results in negative and mostly negative interactions. Yeah. So the population we believe is about 600 or less, and but the problem with population estimates right now in Sri Lanka, none of them are reliable. Uh, Not a single study has been done following a standardized method. So Australia has been doing this for almost 40 years now, since 1971. So I started a study in a couple of tidal rivers and Bolgora Lake, where replicating studies in Australia, studying the population during the dry season and also the wet season. And I aim to study for about 6 years. So then I have a population trend coming in. Then 58% of all attacks that we recorded from 2005 are from saltwater crocodiles. It's a high incident rate. Mugger crocodiles are also responsible for a lot of attacks, and they are distributed mainly inland, like in landlocked tanks, especially around national parks and also in the dry zone, and some parts in the intermediate zone. Anuradhapura and Polonnaruwa areas have been highlighted as a major conflict area, is the eastern province. And again, Tisamaharama, Kataragama is also very famous for human crocodile conflict incidents. And Kataragama, Tisamaharama, there's a lot of killing of animals going on, just as a precautionary method and also in retaliation. And in Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa, there are incidents of people curing crocodile meat as a practice. Yeah, so that's a problem there. And most of the human deaths are recorded from the east coast, Anuradhapura areas. Non-hatchling population we estimated to be about 2,500 in Sri Lanka, which means there could be a population of about 10,000 in total. And most of these animals are concentrated in the national parks. Whereas the saltwater crocodiles, most of them are outside national parks, where in highly urbanized areas like Colombo and Mathura. And 35% is the incident rate for mugger crocodiles in Sri Lanka. And 7% we couldn't determine which species is responsible, and all of these incidents are from the eastern province. So more and more surveys should be done to find out where exactly saltwater crocodiles and the muggers are distributed in the eastern province. It can be very useful for management implications in the future. And then the question comes in, why are they so good at hunting? Why are they so successful hunters? Is it because they have sharp teeth and strong jaws and a stout, stocky body with a muscular tail? That's not only the reason. There's a couple of reasons that I'll be explaining a bit. These animals have been here on Earth for more than 240 million years. And this design and form has not changed for almost 100 million years ago. 100 million years. They have managed to survive through two major extinctions, and they're also the last ice age that took place. So there has to be some other or more important adaptations and that these animals should have from other animals like the dinosaurs that got extinct. So some of the things that I need to highlight is sensory organs that these animals have. So these animals are spread throughout the world, from the Americas through Africa, Asia, Southeast Asia, and also Australia. So one main reason for them to have survived and be success and pretty much dominate the whole world, except for the extreme climatic zones in the world, is because they have very highly specialized sensory organs. And this is one very interesting sensory organ all crocodiles have. These are called domed pressure receptors, which are integumentary sensory organs. that are spread throughout the top and lower jaw of crocodiles and throughout the body. But in alligators, they are only concentrated around the top and lower jaw only. So these dome pressure receptors are found. You can see these little pits around the jaw. So each and every pit is 10 times more sensitive to vibrations in the water than our fingertips. So it's not just touch, but just vibrations in the water. They can sense vibrations a couple of kilometers away from where they are. If someone throws a stone, if there is some sort of disturbance in the water, they can pinpoint the direction from where it comes. So I think this is a big advantage that they have when it comes to hunting animals. And the most dangerous point of crocodile attacks is land-water interface. So when animals come to drink water or to bathe or so, this will trigger the instinct to come and take a look. So again, the temperament of an animal is important, because saltwater crocodiles are very territorial. So a boss croc or a big croc in an area, if there's some sort of disturbance in the water, if he comes across something like that, he'll go and take a look at it. So if it's a big threat that he has to worry about, it'll attack without any hesitation. And also when it's diving in murky water, and the way they use these sensory organs to hunt fish and other frogs, etc. And also their eyes, ears, and nostrils are extremely highly developed compared to other reptiles. They have binocular vision. Color vision is extremely very well developed. They have very well developed rods and cones. And their sense of smell is also very developed. They can sense carcasses from several kilometers away. And hearing is also highly developed. They use hearing when other senses are not working. They might just follow their. They might use hearing completely just for that, just for hunting animals as well, because they're very responsive for distress calls made by animals. So dogs barking, other animals in distress like deers giving alarm calls, if they're stuck in mud, it triggers their instinct to go and take a look and attack. The British made use of this during their time in Sri Lanka. They would go into villages and hire human babies, tie them up on trees near tanks, and ambush the predator as it comes to eat the baby. And it will kill the baby. It will kill the crocodile, though. But I mean, the thought of doing something like that is just absurd. So they learned this during their visits and colonial periods in Africa, and also experienced through in America as well. They specifically used black babies, dark-skinned babies, with the experience with dark African people in America. And one more important adaptation animals these crocodiles have is the presence of salt glands. All crocodiles in the world have salt glands except for alligators. These salt glands are in the tongue of crocodiles. They took a while to figure it out, to find out where the salt glands were. And usually it's around the eyes of reptiles and birds, but they found it in the tongue of crocodiles. So only two species of all crocodiles are known to venture out in the sea and travel long distances: the American crocodile and the saltwater crocodile. But however, the mugger crocodile also has very developed salt glands, so that's why you find them around estuaries and also high saline, hypersaline areas like Kalivillu and Kokkaravillu in Vilupattu. So the saltwater crocodile would use these to travel long distances to sea and look out for new habitats, and to look out for food and new habitats for breeding, etc. So we I'm sure all of you are aware of the instances where we came across some crocodiles in the sea in Kolpiti, Vellavat, and all these areas. So I managed to pinpoint the current flow of in the ocean. This was based on a brilliant article by Asha DeVos in 2014. So they managed to show how the currents work during the two monsoon periods. So during the north-east monsoon, that's when we saw the crocodile in the west coast. The current flows from this one over here. The current flows from Orissa onwards to the eastern province, going southwards and traveling westwards. So ideally, we could imagine that the crocodiles would come from the south or the east and travel northwards along the west coast, looking for areas to enter the land. And yeah, so these. However, one of the crocodiles that were found, they found it was killed because of exhaustion, because some of the people tried to attack and try to catch the animal. So that's something you should never do to a crocodile that's in the ocean, because these animals don't actively swim in the ocean. They use surface currents to travel from place to place, because crocodiles get really tired quickly, and a buildup of lactic acid in their blood will can be detrimental. So during the time we came across crocodiles in the western coast, the weather was really bad. So I believe the currents were disrupted. So the only option the crocodiles had was to come ashore. And what they normally do is they would come ashore, and once the currents are formed, they would go back and follow the currents and go to an entry point. Probably they were heading towards either Berry Lake or Crow Island, where they can get to Kalina River. From there to Hamilton River, they can go up to Muthurajavala and so on. So people think that these animals can't survive, so they caught as thinking it's a rescue mission, but what they did was something really unwanted. So during southwest monsoon, the current changes pattern. It goes from westwards, south, and northwards back to Orissa, and this circulation could answer questions for our affinity with Southeast Asian fauna and flora. That's something we need to look at in the future, because it was proven that olive ridleys do travel from Orissa towards Sri Lanka. They probably use these currents, and probably this is the period of they probably use the northeast monsoon periods to travel from Orissa towards Sri Lanka. So because of this adaptation, saltwater crocodiles are the most widespread species in the world. You can see the distribution. The green locations are its current distribution, and the orange ones are its previous distributions. But it's highly doubtful about this bit here. I don't think there were saltwater crocodiles anywhere around that area, even during its even during its ancient distribution, due to lack of habitat.